All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 284 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian. Today I'm joined by Alex, Bagboy, on the board, Mark's Almighty, Mark,
hello,
and 69th Blizzard, Ken.
Hello.
Welcome back, gentlemen. Good to see you. What a crazy week last week was. Nearly 4 hours of content generated. Suddenly felt like 3 Sides episode. So I guess first things first was congratulations to our 2 winners of the Take It Off book. These will be shipping out. It's even shrink wrapped for you, so you can keep it mint in package if you want. These will be shipping out in the next day or so to Canada and Australia. So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Those shipping fees are wonderful. What else is kind of the news? Thank you to everyone for the response to the Bob interview. Obviously, it was a kind of challenging situation to be in, but I think Bob came across with his side of the story for whatever that's worth. One thing that is kind of useful to correct on that is Keith Valcourt was not fired. Gene wasn't going to need him, so superfluous requirements made redundant either way. End result's the same, but just one little detail on there that Bob may not have been aware of. And I actually got some Bob Kulick related mail today, straight in from France. I finally found a copy of his 1966 EP.
Wow.
And this was recorded by Bob's band. That if you go into any Bob Kulick interview, he'll tell you about his baby band, the Random Blues Band, and how they played at Cafe Wah in New York City, and Jimi Hendrix would come in and sit down watching them, making them nervous, and stuff like that. Well, apparently they cut this version of Winchester Cathedral, which Kiss later did an instrumental of, or on, I think, Animalized tour, thereabouts anyway, and it came out in 1966. Unfortunately, another band had just recorded that song at the same time, the New Vaudeville Band or something like that, who had a massive hit with it. So right from the beginning, Bob's career took an arc. And maybe if he looks back at this arc, go right back to 1966, Bob, and what happened then, and then what happened later. So I've been after this French EP because it's actually got 4 songs on it, which, I've had the U.S. Scepter single of Bob's song before, but it's also got 2, I think, originals, I Can't Keep From Crying and The Random Blues. You can hear the latter of those up on YouTube. But there you go. That's just me being an idiot as usual. But just to get all of your kind of opinions on the whole Bob situation, just like to get some overviews and thoughts. And Alex looks ready to go. So, Alex, what's your take on the Bob situation?
You don't mind if I eat while we discuss that?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm just kidding. With Bob, I just think he's like super angry, and I don't understand. Sorry, little one's teething over there. She's been vocal, but she's mad about Bob too.
I don't know. She's got a little bit of Gene Simmons going on there, Yeah. Audio. She wants your attention.
Yeah. So I just don't understand what the issue is. It's kind of like some of the interviews have asked, like, okay, so what can Kiss do, or what can Bruce do, or what could they do to rectify things? You're coming out going, oh, I had to pay $750, but then it's like, okay, so what if they cut you a check for $750? Are you upset about that, or what is it? And then his like solution is like the most random thing. It's like, let me produce a song called "End of the Road," and it's like just way out there.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is that $750. I don't even want to know the business details of what any of these guys, whether it's Kiss or Bob or Bruce or anyone, is involved in. It's just none of our freaking business. But you have overhead costs. If you want to protect your trademark and your copyright, you got to pay the fees. That's a business expense. That's not something that you split it and you hope to recoup it from the sales of the t-shirt. So, it's like me bitching about the cost of hosting, the website. It's a business expense because, it has to be there in order to exist. So, Kent, bring some reason to this whole conversation and debate if you can.
Well, here it is. I was thinking about this. I wrote some things down, but I think, a lot of it stems from right now what's going on is from a year ago when I guess he wanted more money. He thought he wasn't getting enough money to, play on the cruise. So therefore he didn't appear on the cruise. And then the other issue is probably even going way back where he wished he had gotten the job instead of Ace. And it's just kind of a long thing he's kind of pushed it back,
Very long.
until he's reached a boiling point of some sort, something triggered it. And the thing about the Grammy, he talks about the Grammy thing, who cares? It doesn't matter. That doesn't even matter. And some of the other things I thought about is he talks about Bruce, being a tribute band and tribute bands, and he's the guy he's the one that asked Paul and Gene to get his brother into Kiss. So that's a total contradiction for himself there. I mean, he wanted his brother to be in the band if he couldn't obviously get in the band. The other thing is, I think I started thinking about if actually he was chosen instead of Bruce, and that would have thrown the chemistry out the window, that special whatever magic chemistry that the original four had. If it was Bruce instead of Bob instead of Ace, I think things would have been different, such as voting. The Democratic kind of vote would be most likely like a 3-1. Most likely, like Gene, Paul, Bruce against Peter. I don't think Bob and Peter would have aligned like Ace and Peter did back at that time. I just don't think it. And so I think Peter would have quit the band, because he threatened quit the band even before Destroyer. Therefore, you wouldn't get Beth and all this other stuff that happened, and maybe they would have failed.
You really thought this over.
Who knows?
Yeah. Let's put it this way: he would have been shooting more than Christmas trees.
Usually, I think about this stuff while I'm taking a shower, Mark. But anyway,
there's a thought.
Yeah, there's a thought. Otherwise, I just think it's just crazy. Yeah, I just think those things came up to me, and I just thought something hit it. It's a boiling point that he hit after so much of time of holding it back. So.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was kind of the optics that the Kiss Cruise and the opportunities was a cash cow for him that was then taken away, with not being able to. But the logistics and the expenses of being able to take any act on the road and be viable, Bruce knows Union was playing to 100 people, or half of that in places. No one was going to go see Karabi's Motley songs and the Scream and Carnival of Souls, and then obviously the Union stuff performed live. As much as people loved it, it just wasn't a viable seller. And even on the coattails of The End of the Road, how viable is it unless you're in that opening slot, before Kiss comes out and does their show? So the Kiss Cruise, I don't doubt, is a cash cow, but it's a cash cow for Gene and Paul. That's how the rich get rich and stay rich. They only throw crumbs out, and maybe that is good enough. And again, we don't know I don't even want to know what Bruce and the bands get paid individually or collectively or whatever. None of our effing business. Just enjoy the videos and the music, which is it should be about. So I think there's much more to it. I hope so, because otherwise it just seems, Bruce is just one of the nicest people you can meet, and to have kind of his character being sullied in this way is, deeply disconcerting and worrying. Mark, your take on it?
Well, I think in his mind, it all boils down to one thing, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this. There you go. Like Fredo says in The Godfather, I'm smart and I want respect. So I think that it all boils back down to that. Every time you hear him talking about this stuff, it just seems like he feels like he's being disrespected at every turn, which, I don't know. I mean, I can understand maybe some of it in the extent that he thinks, oh, maybe I got underpaid. These guys are getting so much for this and I only got this much. Okay, great. That's fine, right? That happened. Like you said, that's not none of our business to know about that, and who cares, right? That's for them to take care of. But, think about it though. He got to do quite a few things that a lot of people would have loved to have done, to ghost on Kiss songs. I mean, a lot of people would have loved to do it. Look at Anton Fig. He did whole albums. You don't hear him start screaming and yelling and complaining that he didn't get any respect or something. He could have complained and said, why didn't they let me in as the drummer after Peter left? He could have had a legitimate, complaint like that, but you never hear him complain about stuff like that. It just seems very odd that, he's making such a big deal out of things that happened a long time ago. And, I'm not a medical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but this kind of stuff reminds me of something to do almost with mental illness. I mean, it just seems like something really snapped in him, and he just went overboard with this. I mean, a lot of the things that he did just seems very odd, like the whole eating while he's on doing an interview. I mean, he can't be that foolish to not realize that people are going to hear that. You know what I mean? That just seems like something that either... Yeah, that was the most annoying interview. I mean, I was listening to that and I was like, God, I'm glad I'm not listening to this on headphones.
That was the one with on the metal voice, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the whole thing with the Grammy thing. I mean, how many times did he say that? And I mean, already there's been 2 other podcasts that have mentioned and spelt out that really he didn't win any Grammy. He was just a participant in the activity that made Motorhead win the Grammy. They won the Grammy, not him. And I mean, and he's standing on that hill, that Grammy hill, so firmly that that's why he needs respect, because I'm a Grammy producer. It's like he's making people just get annoyed with him with that. And that whole thing about him producing, producing the song for Kiss, like, let me write the song End of the Road with you and release as a single. You think now, honestly, after all this crap that you talked about with these guys in these podcasts, they're going to come up to you and say, yeah, Bob, you're right. Let's write a song together and you can produce it. You're a Grammy award-winning producer. Like, it just seems like something's wrong upstairs.
Can I...
Yeah.
And
yes, you may, Alex. Please do.
I've listened to the same. I think we've all listened to the same interviews, and I don't want to ask Jessica here. I don't want to invalidate. I want to make sure Bob. They say, Bob, like, yes, you're allowed to have those feelings. Like, validate the feelings. You learn that with marriage and stuff like that. Even if it doesn't make sense, I'm just, boy, I'm just. I am just confused, though. What was mentioned, just with all this anger and frustration. But like you said, with the whole Grammy issue, and with it seemed like Julian, you mentioned it on the interview you did with him, that you guys were at least Bob and Gene were okay to do the vault appearance last year. Bob was at the Vegas Vault.
Somehow I doubt they were doing check signings before and after, and a contract for that. He was there and he was affable, and got a shout out from Gene, obviously, and he ambled, and I didn't actually attend it properly because I was a hanger on, but
yeah. But and I'm just it's weird because I was thinking too earlier, like, okay, Bob says I was on 24 Kiss songs, and I've counted them. I've only counted up to 18. So unless you guys know 6 more Kiss songs that he was on, or if he's counting like some overdubs, because it sounded like he just really was only on 18 of them to me. But it's not like he was per se a songwriter of the songs. And I'm not trying to discredit somebody who plays on a song, because sometimes you may have helped with the song, but you may not have received songwriting credits. I don't want to say he didn't do anything, but it's even like doing those Kiss Cruise appearances with, that he did with Bruce with the Kulick Brothers band, it's not like Bob went out and had cut these songs himself too on a solo album because he also sang them, or do you think he was part of the band? He was one of the guitarists on the songs, but he wasn't like the songwriter, the singer, or anything like that. So kind of like, getting to the point that you mentioned too, with Kiss, Stone and Crumbs, they're kind of going like, hey, yeah, come play the songs you played on. That's okay. I don't know what Bob wants, what he needs to, or to feel justified. I mean, he was on Diana Ross's album. That should be enough to justify your career, shouldn't it?
I think Mark's soundbite answered that question exactly. But the Grammy thing, no, technically he did not win a Grammy, but isn't it good enough to have been a participant? He produced or executive produced the album, which won the Grammy. It's the performance of the artist. You have to remember your role. I mean, in all of this, know your place, know your role. You're the producer. When my soccer teams won championships, they did the winning. I was just sitting there grinning like a moron. That's the same thing as the producer winning a Grammy. I mean, be happy with the recognition, that I have produced Grammy award-winning albums, rather than because it's very easy to fact check. And as, I think it was Three Sides came up with the participation certificate, off the Grammy website, which then denigrates it to a certain extent because you're like, well, you got a participation ribbon for running the race, Jimmy. That's all right. We all finished fifth. Where I think it takes away from what he accomplished as, on the technical side of the music business outside of, any of the guitar playing. Going back to what you were saying, Alex, there are other songs. I mean, in your list there, when you counted them up, did you include the stuff that's on Gene Simmons' Vault, Sentimental Fool, Now That You're Gone? And I think there were 6 songs that he was actively involved in for the Vault, but only 3 of them ended up on it. So that's where some of the figures do come out. And obviously, he co-wrote with Michael Bolton, Blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to get into any of that side of things. Those were some of the other questions that I did have for him. I managed to get in with, were you paid for these sessions that you did with Kiss? And we got very clear answers on that. Yeah, he got paid. He probably got paid like Dick Wagner got paid on Destroyer. What was it?
Union Scale.
Yeah, Scale. And if not, was he getting fringe benefits from his association with those guys in the 70s? Did that open up any doors for him, or had he already opened all those doors himself and this was the result of it? So I think there's a lot of give and take that needs to be taken into account. Was he paid for Creatures? Yeah. Was he, so you've been paid. That's all you're entitled to. I did mention the Steve Hunter thing because he did go back, and obviously for Train Kept It Rolling was the example that I used years later to try and get the performance royalties off those every time it's played on a jukebox or on the radio and whatnot. And again, I just don't know the technical lingo. Don't even pretend to. So
mechanical
rights. So, there's a lot more to it. It's just very sad to have this hitting the fan, putting Bruce in a bad situation. He didn't just burn the bridge, he blew up the town. So, and I read that somewhere. That's not original. Should we move on to happier things?
Sure.
Let's talk about
all right,
Vinnie Vincent. Okay, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. So earlier this week, a post did turn up that Vinnie was going to be reissuing what everyone has been clamoring for. Speedball Jam. Now, this CD, this glorious CD, is 73 minutes of high frequency boombox, at times it seems it's boombox recordings of Vinnie's various warm-ups and noodling. I do this shit on my guitar for an hour a day, and trust me, all the cats leave the neighborhood. I make up my own scales, damn it, and they're all right. So $250 for a February 2020 reissue of a CD no one wanted. People want new music, but I think it did come with a pic and a signed photo, so there were going to be some other chutkeys in there to, bring it closer up to that value. Ken, I'm going straight to you as the voice of reason.
Well, this is what. If I want to hear that CD of his doodling or his Speedball, I'll just save the money and I'll go to the local bee farm and record it there and listen and record that and then put it on a CD. That's just crazy that he's putting that out. I think you said he pulled it, right? That pulled it off the site.
I just checked back on the thread today, and the link, just goes to oops.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oops. We didn't mean to put that out, or who knows? But we would rather have, the music or new music. Music that he's already released. Maybe do some remastering of some of the stuff, or new music, which he says he's been supposedly writing and playing all this time anyway. I don't want to hear that. That's the least, CD of music that I would want to buy from him.
How many of you own the CD? Alex, do you own Speedball Jam?
I can't afford Speedball Jam.
So, Mark, how about you?
No, I don't. I'd rather pull out all my nails out of my hands before I go and buy it.
You guys are a bunch of haters.
I don't have it.
You don't have it on. And so these were 3 prospective customers, Vinny.
But you know what I don't understand, though, honestly, about that, is that, okay, if he really wanted to do something with this product, why didn't he just sell it at a normal, reasonable price? I mean, it would be hard enough probably at that price to get people to buy it. But what in God's name did he think would make people buy it at $250? I mean, here's a little sample of it. Like, come on. Okay, and for the record, the complete Speedball Jam is on YouTube. So, I mean, right there, you can listen to it if you're really that desperate to hear it. It's there on YouTube. Now, I'm not trying to, cut into his market or nothing, but it's come on. I mean, but $250, like, really, I was trying really hard to think if there was some kind of reasoning behind this. Like, was there some sort of thing added to it? Like, was there some kind of special meeting or meet and greet that came with buying the CD, or was there some sort of thing that you would get later? Was this part of something that you got? Was there like a box set now included? Like that was, that he offered before. Now this is just the first CD of it. Like, I don't know. I was trying to think of anything that would justify the $250 cost.
Yeah, you can buy a microwave cheaper than $250 and stick your head in it.
Also, like, I think the price point is a bit high. And it's not the music that, like, again, like, we want to hear. I mean, granted, the first time Speedball Jam came out, I don't think it was a huge pressing of it. But I just, a lot of fans, we want to hear, if you want to hear Vinnie Vincent, we want to either get, like, the Invasion albums, redone, or, they've said, like, he did All Systems Go was going to be redone, or with, Robert Fleischman on vocals. But I just, I don't understand, again, lower the price point, do $100, and he can easily package those demos. If he says he's got the master versions of the stuff that does circulate on YouTube, and I'm thinking like Gypsy in Her Eyes, those Jeff Scott Soto demos and stuff like that. Easily package it. You don't have to put it in a jewel case. Y&T did an EP, and it's kind of packaged like a miniature record.
Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't cost too much money to, do up, a couple hundred of these. And by all means, like I said, slap on a $100 label and include that signed photo and the guitar pick and stuff. And maybe, if any, make a set of trading cards, like a nine card trading card set to include it. Make it worth the money. I mean, I think it's difficult to go to an artist and you sit there and you try to price something that for them they think is worth a lot of money, and to sit there and go like, oh, I think it's only worth this much. I know it could be insulting. I see people all the time trying to sell paintings and stuff online, and sometimes they're like, wow, you guys really want $400 for that painting? Like, it's not that good. But at least be reasonable with the price point that you want to sell it at. Because not everybody has 250, and I know it's tough because Gene obviously had his vault experience that was $2,000, so people can argue with that. But especially with Vinnie trying to get back out there, pick 10 or 12 of the best demos that you have quality wise. Package it in a little. It just has to be a cardboard sleeve, eco-friendly sleeve, and include that signed photo and guitar pick or two, and price it reasonably, $100. Sure, I'd be more willing to put $100 for 12 amazing quality demos and a signed photo than $250 for something that sadly it's already been bootlegged on YouTube and the best quality that exists on YouTube.
Yeah, except I don't think he has the rights to a lot of the stuff that we might like to hear. And I don't know the details, but I'm pretty sure if he signed a deal with Enigma and did all those recordings, that there may be rights tied up elsewhere. Same with the Invasion stuff. That stuff has been re-released in recent years under a real record label, so he's not doing anything with that anytime soon. I would still like him just to forget this stupid stuff. Give Tom a call or the Kiss My Wax guys and put Euphoria into pink vinyl. I think even that would be more appealing as product, as $75 for a record than a $250 CD, and then let someone else do all the fulfillment. Vinnie just has to sit back, shut up, sign where told when, the flats are delivered, and not handle the money until he's given a check at the end. And I think people would be much more comfortable with that sort of arrangement. I don't want to denigrate Speedball, but listening to 73 minutes of it, and I did sit through it, and it was all cut and pasted together from various takes, was, overkill. It wasn't even tracked properly. I actually was interested in some of the sections of it because you hear, I think there's some effusion in there, which they used to do on the tour. So it's not what people want. So what are the hang-ups, that are keeping him from doing anything else? Fleischman, last we read, he didn't want anything to do with Vinnie. He was done, finally done. So he's not going to be rushing in to re-record Mark Slaughter's melodies for All Systems Go, is he? So let's be realistic on what he can get out there. Stick to something small. You want to release something, Vinnie? Start with an LP.
Well, do you think he could reach out to, is it Red Cherry Rock? Is that the label that did the Warrior CDs?
Yeah, I'm sure he really wants to reach out to the people who released his music. I don't know how involved he was in that.
No.
It got released, damn it. So
obviously, but to sit there that there was at least a company that saw some value in Vinnie Vincent material, that like, hey, we're going to package his CDs. That I feel like that could be a company that could get behind with Vinnie in the sense to go like, let's maybe package something.
Excuse me. I think they definitely saw some value in the music related to Vinnie Vincent, with the upside of not having to work directly with Vinnie.
Yeah.
And that's just, there's so many horror stories now in public since he's come back, and that have come out, from his history, that, it's going to take a very brave business to partner with him, with his demands and just his quirks. I don't want to, he is what he is, and it's not going to change. And if people want to do business, because when he's left to his own devices, you end up with a $250 CD that's announced and it was announced in all caps and de-announced within a week. So again, it does nothing to resurrect his career or give him money.
And that's the problem, is that when people start acting like this on the internet, and you start burning all these bridges, any hope of doing stuff like this from your past is completely squashed. I mean, a good example of this that's kind of recent actually is Yes actually released a kind of EP / LP box set that came out just now called From a Page, which is basically songs that they wrote back when Benoit David was the singer back in like 2005 or 6 like that, when he replaced John Anderson when he left in like 2004. And they did some songs, and they were going to go and do a full record called Fly From Here. And before that happened, the keyboard player Oliver Wakeman, which is Rick Wakeman's son, got fired, and somebody else came into play. But those songs that he recorded with them, they ended up keeping. And they had it in great condition, and on 24 track. And because he kept in good stance with these people throughout the years, never bad-mouthed them or nothing like that, just this year, Oliver contacted Steve Howe and them and said, listen, how about releasing this stuff? And bam, they released it. And, and it did really good. And people in the Yes community were overjoyed. They loved it. And guess what? There's talks again of maybe trying to find some more, hidden in the vaults Yes stuff with other, band members. So let that be a lesson. Like, don't be careful who you badmouth, especially when you are working with these people, because if you ever want to try to do stuff like this in the future, that ain't a good way to approach it.
Yeah, maybe 2020 there'll be Warrior 3, or Jeff Scott Soto releases his stuff, with Vinnie, and Vinnie's cut out of that picture. He's just missing the boat as time ticks on, and more fans die of old age and middle-aged health issues. I mean, it's really, again, never miss an opportunity to shoot yourself in the foot, which is just so depressing for someone who loves his music and his artistry and his creativity. Absolutely amazing artist who wasted his career. Hasn't had one. 30 years. Mm-hmm. How absolutely disappointing, considering the stuff that he did. Talking about the future, Ken, the end, July
17th,
2021.
Right? 2021. Yeah, and I was thinking about that, and the announcement of it being saying the last show. Well, I think it's more of the last show ever of a tour, of a KISS actual tour. And maybe the last show where hopefully Ace and Peter and Bruce, whoever, may, get on stage with them at some point. That's what that is to me. And will I go to that in New York City? I might just go to that if I'm pretty sure that those guys are going to show up. I think I might, go ahead and do it. The other thing is, though, I do think KISS will perform after that. The current lineup will perform here and there. Maybe festival, maybe a Vegas run, maybe something like that, but not a tour kind of thing. That's just what I'm thinking about that. But it's finally interesting to hear a actual concrete date. And if it sells out so fast, are they going to add more shows? Will there be more last shows, or is that going to really be the last show? That's a question there, because we don't know even where it's going to be in New York City.
Well, if you add a show, then the one that was the last show is no longer the last show.
Exactly. It's the second to last show.
Yeah, the penultimate.
Unless you add a show before that last show. So it's, anyway.
Yeah.
This whole end of the road thing, though, I mean, I'm really curious about it, because, I mean, they announced the date, they announced the city, I mean, I'm guessing that sooner or later they're going to obviously have to commit to a venue or a place to do it eventually.
Citi Field.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But, I think the problem here, well, maybe it's not a problem, but I'm curious to see the reactions down the line, because now with this whole thing with Motley Crue, with them coming back out of the woodwork and touring again, you're getting all these comments on the internet about how people are not taking seriously this end of the road, sort of ideal that people are actually going to end. It's like, okay, it's like the Who. How many times did they say it was over and they came back? Motley Crue swore up and down that it would never ever happen. Mick Mars went on, that metal show and said that he would let everybody go to free if they ever went back on tour again. that it would never happen. Nikki Sixx, we'll never do this. I will never do it. And when they make these kind of grandiose statements and now they come back on their word and go and do it, I mean, I'm just going to say this. I just really hope that when Kiss do end it, that they do end it. I mean, really, is Rush the only band that I know of that actually said we're done and have stuck to it? Let that be a lesson. Canadians are a people of their word, okay?
So far.
Yeah,
I mean,
hey,
but does
they've done it longer than anybody else have said it.
Yeah, but why do people ever believe musicians? I mean, they're about as accurate as politicians. I mean, come on, they lie. They do nothing but lie. Kiss has the problem that it's got a public narrative around them, that they've been on a repetitive, farewell tour like Cher, for the last 20 years. Like it was one farewell after another, after another, after another. No, they only ever did one farewell tour, and then they flipped the switch, which is fine. And as far as Motley goes, Vince owes me 2/3 of the songs he didn't sing the last time I saw him, so maybe I'll get a few more. Maybe that day he won't be singing any nouns, so I'll get all the verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. You never know with Vince. Sometimes he's in a verb mood, sometimes it's adjectives only.
Sometimes just consonants only.
Sometimes it's just grunts and primal screams for every song. No, I love Motley. But I don't go to Motley to hear Vince, and I haven't for many years. I go to watch one person, and it's the guy who said I can go for free. Thanks, Mick. I love watching him play. Such a vastly underrated guitarist, just absolutely freaking stunning what he does, and so limited in his mobility, and just to think of what pain and he may be in. Just a very, very, very good player. I can't get any of that tone that he does. But this is the KissFAQ podcast. I talk about too many other bands too often. The final show, I don't actually give a shit. I think whatever show I go to, in March, if they don't cancel Oakland, because it's still, I counted blue dots.
A lot of seats.
I counted the dots, and it is horrendous. If they cancel it, I won't be shocked, because it is absolutely dire. And then I'll get a refund, and I'll get a refund on my meet and greet that I bought accidentally. And I'm good with all the ones. I mean, this year I did the Forum, I did Madison Square Garden, I did opening night. So, ultimately, what more could I did a meet and greet, the guitar package with Tommy. I still wanted to do the drum one with Eric, just because those guys, again, mean a lot to me personally. But the end of the road going to New York City, yeah, it's kind of like that. It's New York City. It's the end. But I've been there. I've seen them at Madison Square Garden, which is more of a cathedral of music than Citi Field. I hate stadiums with a passion. And I just see it's going to be such a fake, false, pseudo fans with big wallets, the whole front 100 rows are going to be fat cats in big wigs, and their silicone honeys, that I don't think I could stomach it. Or, all the fans, I've seen them 197 times. What's your favorite song? Rock and Roll All Night. No. To me, Kiss really should end in the most outrageous way Kiss could end, and that would be the free concert in Central Park. Make no money, broadcast the damn thing, sell the DVD afterwards, but make it after a career and 40-something years of merchandising and on this tour gouging the living daylights out of anything with a moving wallet. Not that anyone has to pay for it, just to say, we're done, here's a freebie. And then blow up the costumes at the end of the tour, and end of the show.
Well, Julian, you laughed at me when we had our episode of The End, a couple of years ago or whatever, back, and I said, free concert at Central Park, and you laughed.
But I obviously came around to your wisdom in the end, so you can smugly be happy.
I hope they do it.
You're right in the end. Yeah. Mark.
I hope they do it.
Yeah, well, I agree with Ken. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to do it. And, because if you think about it, it is grandiose. It is very Kiss-like in their mind, to show them how the big boys do it, and stuff like that. But I mean, really, that also eliminates the fear of attendance. Like, how well will this sell out if people have to pay for it? Well, if you don't have to pay for it, everybody and their brother is going to show up. It's going to be, a full packed park for that. So really, that's the way you want to go out, right? So I mean, look, let's face it. Kiss have made a lot of money over the years, especially on the second end of this whole thing. I mean, they made a lot of money. Really, like, can't they just throw people a bone for one last show and just, make it a free thing? Make it like a thank you very much for all your years of support. And as long as you can get yourselves down here to Central Park, you're going to see a great final Kiss show, and I think that's the right way to do it. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. I saw this somewhere on the internet, so if it's on the internet, it's got to be true. But there's some rumor going around that Paul Stanley is in litigation for another divorce, possibly now.
What?
Yeah, I read somewhere online that that he might be getting divorced. Now, I don't know if that's
it was his anniversary yesterday, and he was celebrating it.
Okay, good. Well, then maybe it was just a complete falsehood.
I think it's a false one.
Yeah, he even skipped going to Australia because he forgot it was his anniversary yesterday.
Okay, good. So it was probably just some hoax thing because,
God, I hate the internet. I hate the internet so much.
Yeah, because I mean that's the first thing that came into my mind when I read that. I was like, oh no, because apparently, I heard long ago that after they did the farewell tour, he went through that big major divorce and he wanted to get back and tour because he was so scraped for money after his last divorce. I mean, you don't want something like that to happen now again. They finished the farewell tour and then he has to, go start touring again because he's, taken to the cleaners by a ex-wife. So I'm glad that's not true. So come on, Central Park free show, let's do it.
Alex, your shows have been rescheduled for very end of the
and I'm going to be honest,
next year.
I was talking with my dad because I'll be doing my student teaching that semester, and so for the rescheduled date, and it's like, do I swap my ticket out for one of the tickets to go see the Doobie Brothers on their 50th anniversary tour with Michael McDonald? I mean, sorry, Kiss, I'm still kind of irritated that we got booked out so far ahead too. I mean, I get scheduling conflicts, dictate some of that stuff, but I was like, dang, it's like over a year away. But I do hope, I hope that July 17th, 2021, I hope that is like the last concert. I mean, I don't care if Kiss does another Kiss cruise and decides to do acoustic and stuff, but I hope that July 17th is the last time they do the makeup. And I hope they do it right with inviting some former members. I mean, what do you want to call it? The wishful thinking of me would like to see Ace, Peter, Vinnie, and Bruce there. Realistically, I'm sure some people may or may not attend it. But I just picked up that Foreigner Then and Now DVD CD package where they did like the first half of the show with the current lineup, and they did a few songs with the as much of the original as you can get. And I think the original bass player had passed away, so they had the second bass player with them. And that was great. And then of course they came out and finished it. I hope Kiss. I love the Central Park idea. I think what a great way to do it. That they make that DVD, Blu-ray, CD package, and all of us Kiss fans will go buy it, and they'll do different variations, some with vinyl, some with this and that we'll pick up multiple copies of it. But I just hope they do it right with, inviting some former members out, whether it's, Peter Criss just doing Beth or Peter Criss with the tambourine up on stage with them after they do Rock and Roll All Night. Just do it right to call it a day, and then stick to your guns. I know Gene says he's up there in age and stuff, and I don't want to see those guys drop dead on stage or anything because they decide to keep pushing it. Feel free to call it a day and say, hey, this is it. And if they want to get together, and when I say do a 50th anniversary show because it's 50 years in 2023, 2024, and they want to get together without makeup and do a live show, in regular street clothes, by all means, go for it. I'm sorry, my little one's got a big old teeth coming in, and she's chewing on spoons all day.
So, you know what I think, Alex? I think that in your future you're going to be hearing this. Good old Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to the Central Park thing, it would be again a nice touch for it to be free, and they could sell their $10,000 meet and greet packages, the last meet and greet ever, in makeup. They could totally get the money out of it in some way.
Oh, and some awesome merchandise too. There, T-shirts. They have the Central Park. They can make what they could have had in tickets and merch alone.
Sponsorship as well, to pay for it. Come on, New York State, their home, or New York City, God. So I think that it just needs to kind of be done in a surprising way. And then, of course, 50th anniversary, do a pay-per-view on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of these, dozens of places now. Look at The Mandalorian and how it's doing on Disney. I mean, crashing the systems. Content is king. There are so many other, again, there are also lots of business and legal issues and questions and whatnot. That we'll have to wait and see. Whatever the case, I'm sure Kiss will annoy someone and make someone else very happy with however they decide to do their final show. And it'll be interesting to watch from afar, even if I don't go. I say I have no interest whatsoever, but those are like my famous last words. I just don't want to see Peter Criss up on stage with someone else wearing makeup. It's just, I don't care how many years and how great Eric Singer is, how much I love him as a drummer, how hilarious he is. I still don't want to see Peter denigrated as the original Catman, the one and only. And same goes for Ace. So there's got to be a way that it can be worked out. And if not, it should just be whatever the current lineup is and have a nice big video thing in the background, making sure that everyone is honored, including Vinnie and Mark St. John and Bob. Don't forget Bob. All right, let's talk about Sharks, or lack thereof, because, of course, Paul was sick. Tour was canceled for Australia, that is. And then Gene and Eric and Tommy hopped on the plane anyway and went to, Port Lincoln in South Australia to hop on a rowboat. They look like the Sex Pistols' Pirates of Destiny cover. Just the band in a tiny little rowboat on the Thames. When they said they were going out on a boat to perform for Sharks, I was actually thinking more a ship than
something bigger.
Something a little bit
bigger. We need
bigger.
a bigger ship.
And then I was equally shocked that there were only 8 fans, so they managed to sell out 8 tickets. And the people who purchased those tickets were put on a barge attached to the back of the boat. It looked really fun, actually, but it also looked really Spinal Tappy as well. And no shark showed up. So, what was Mark? What was your thoughts on it in execution? The little puffs of smoke, just the tiny, anemic little.
Honestly, this is the sort of thing that I always don't understand why Kiss do this kind of stuff. I know at the end of the day, it's all about ching money. That's the only reason why they probably did it, is because somebody probably gave them some ridiculous, amount of money to do it. But this is not helping their image at all. Like when I talk to some people, just in musical circles and stuff like that, there's us diehard people who love Kiss and will support them no matter what. And then there's those musicians that when you just mention the word Kiss, they just put their heads in their hands and say, really, these guys are a joke. And it's stuff like this that make them a joke, because when they start showing this stuff online that they're playing on this little rinky-dink boat, okay, first of all, it's only the 3 of them. It's not even the full band. Then and that's the thing. People started focusing on stuff like that a lot. Like, wow, all 8 people showed up for this. Now that sounds really bad. Okay, that 8 people showed up for it. I gotta focus it a bit better, Alex.
Yeah, Alex. You have blur enabled, so it blurs everything.
Yeah, you gotta unblur your background. But yeah, there you go. truth be told, I'm not sick. I'm just playing a. You know what? I would honestly believe that if that was the actual Paul Stanley. I mean, but there's a whole kinds of conspiracy theory around this whole Australia thing that Paul really wasn't sick, that the attendance for the shows were terrible. That's why they canceled the tour. Blah blah blah. But anyways, that shark thing is just ridiculous. First of all, and then I heard too that it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Like the music wasn't supposed to attract the sharks to come by the boat, and it didn't do anything like that. I mean, there was a running joke on, I think it was one of the other Shouted Out Loud podcasts or something like that. They were saying that because of Tommy doing what do you do?
Shock Me.
Shock Me. That that was what was the final straw, that no sharks came because of that. So, but it just looks silly. Like it really looks silly. Like, even the way Julian just described it a second ago, with like these anemic puffs of smoke and stuff like that. Like, really, this is how you're saying the big boys play? I think it's ridiculous. I think it ruins their image. It doesn't do anything to help their image. And really, if you're trying to get people to come and see you, you don't want this kind of stuff appearing on television. That's really what I think.
Damn, we put a quarter in Mark today. Metallica goes to Antarctica. Kiss plays a rowboat. Yeah, it kind of is a great illustration of the difference in perceptions about being a big boy. Ken?
Yeah, well, like Mark said, it's not going to be on TV because the Discovery Channel turned it down for Shark Week, so it's not gonna work. Yeah, I thought that was I expected a bigger boat. They were on the USS Intrepid, right, for the announcement of that tour. I thought it'd be at least something sizable, not the SS Minnow ship. I thought they were going to get stranded after the 3-hour tour. So I Mardi Gras even looked better, or seems better than doing that the boat thing. And again, yeah, you're missing Paul Stanley. I don't know if Paul Stanley is really sick or not. There's that picture they showed of him. Looks like he was in the studio doing something with Soul Station or listening back something there. I don't know if that was a actual truth or an old picture.
That was
what?
Apparently much earlier. So
Okay, and then like you said, you see a little teeny bit of smoke coming out of the corner behind Gene there. From
the USS Intrepid to that.
Maybe it's the exhaust. It's not even of any effect. It's probably the exhaust of the ship. So it's like polluting the air. I just think it was kind of a goofy, but yes, they probably got paid a lot of money. And they were going to be there anyway, I guess, they were going to be there for the Australian tour. Anyway, so it was, the timing was right. But now with Paul getting sick, it doesn't look as good, or it doesn't make sense to even go there. I guess they got paid a lot of money, or else I don't think they would have gone there to do that.
That's my guess, and of course also doing Gene's vault. Have you ever seen the Hornblower in the bay? It's kind of a boat that can hold, I think, 250 or 350 guests, and you go out for dinner and a cruise around the bay. That was kind of the size.
I've been on that once.
Yeah, we did that. We did that for a Christmas party one year at work, and it was fantastic. And that was kind of what I was expecting. It would be a couple hundred people, not a cruise size boat, but certainly not. It is basically looks like a glorified fishing boat. I don't think I'd even take that out in the Pacific to go deep sea fishing on that. No, I think those boats we use are bigger. It was just very unimpressive. I guess you had to be there, is the nice way to put it. Alex, would you like to have been there?
Yeah.
No. Well, I've never been to Australia, so I guess if it was a trip to Australia, that would make it worth it. But I don't know. It's embarrassing, I guess. And joke with that Paul PAWL Stanley Twitter account about him. Like, I'm not going on an effing boat. But it's one of those things. you sit there and go, like, cool, Kiss is my band, and then they do stuff like that, and you're like, guys, come on, like, and I'm sure they, like you said, I'm sure the paycheck at the end of the day was awesome. But like you guys mentioned, I remember my high school, we did homecoming on a boat. It was kind of like almost like a miniature aircraft carrier with like a glass atrium restaurant on top and stuff. And I was at first thinking it was something like that, but then when you see what they did it on, it was just like, why that was all the hype was just for that. And when you see that boat, you kind of wonder, like, where was Paul going to stand anyways? There's not enough room for the three of them already to begin with on there. I think they almost had to maybe just kind of like, okay, which one of us cannot show up because we can't fit all four of you guys on the back of this boat? And Paul was like, me, I can't do it. I can't. I'm sick, guys.
Well, Paul would fly out to the barge where the 8 fans are.
I guess so.
For a love gun.
And it looks like the 8 fans got to meet Kiss. The 3 out of the 4 guys. So hopefully, for them, they had fun and stuff. But hopefully for them, they had fun. But I just wish Kiss sometimes. You just wish they would maybe do some cooler things than what they're doing, to say the least. But yeah.
You're muted, Julian.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying Alex's daughter now has the attention that she craved, and she's going to press hang up. So, yeah, again, all these great ideas, and then the execution. I mean, sounds like so many projects that you hear about. It's like buying the sea people out of the comic books in the 1970s. Look great in advertising and concept, and then you arrived and you saw. But again, like I said, I think maybe you had to be there, and I'm sure it was absolutely amazing to see them up close and that personal, regardless of the context of how silly it looks from afar. So that's my political spin on it. A for effort. I get a participation Grammy for that effort.
There you go.
All right, let's leave that there so Alex's daughter can scream at him some more. Yeah, that's it. Any last thoughts? Oh, yeah. Tell us.
I will say, yeah, so I did get the colored vinyl. And actually, I put the sticker on there. I know some people are not going to be happy with that, but I put the sticker took it off the shrink wrap and put it on the album cover. But this is the one, the colored vinyl. So this one, Mark, you'll be impressed that it comes in a nice sleeve.
Finally.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I think it's the same color as the Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah. It's a disappointment that he did that.
So that one's pretty cool. And then the other one, which of course they jammed all the songs on this one. It's the same pressing. But this one they didn't do that. But they used the actual, the lyric sleeve for that. But it's not flimsy or anything. And the color on that is another, translucent a blue.
That's not quite as aqua as I was hoping it. That looks closer to like the Revenge.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't advertised that way. And then I have something else, but it's not Kiss, but in a way it's related to like Psycho Circus because of the, remember Psycho Circus had the lenticular cover, right? Well, so this is the ELO, the new ELO album, right? And it has a lenticular.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Appears Out of Nowhere, which is the name of the album. So
nice.
Yeah, I thought, it's like, Kiss did it. Yeah, ELO's gonna do it too now. So it's cool.
Other bands have done it. I mean, think of some of the cool stuff bands have done with their album packaging. With the mirrors on the front, lenticular covers, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mark, you've had some podcast appearances this week, haven't you?
Yeah. I was on Ages of Rock. I was on. That was fun. We chatted about a lot of different things. The Motley Crue thing was one of the big talking points on that one as well. I think that was actually the main one that I was on this week. Of course, the Kiss one that we do here is obviously a good one. And I mean, obviously my Yes one, which comes out tomorrow, which is always a big listener. But yeah, I mean that was fun. I really liked going on with the Ages of Rock guys. They're good guys, and they have very interesting opinions on their views of rock. Oh, but I also, yeah, you know what? You're right though. I was on Progressive Palaver as well, on their ending of they did a whole, I think it was a 2 months worth of episodes where they went through the entire Genesis discography. And at the end of it, they had me on talking about what we thought of the whole catalog as a whole, and that raised a few eyebrows. My opinions on it. I told them if you find my opinions eyebrow raising, you should really check out the KissFAQ one, because there's always an eyebrow or two raised on with my comments on here too. So they swear they're gonna start checking it out now, so we're gonna have some additional watchers soon. So yeah, but it was good because I get to pimp my Project Gemini stuff on there as well, and that always helps. And every time I've done an episode with anybody on any one of these extra podcasts I appear on, I always get at least 2, 3, or 4 orders of something. So that's
good.
Very, very good, and I'm very grateful for that. So thanks guys for the Ages of Rock podcast, and thank you to the Progressive Palaver guys, and thank you Julian for having me on here talking about it, and thank you Kevin on the Yes Music podcast.
Yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way, Mark. And I actually got to be on another podcast this week, and episode 1 or part 1 of the Bruce Springsteen. Tramps Like Us, a Bruce Springsteen podcast. I participated in the panel ranking the studio albums. Now, of course, anyone who follows me on Facebook knows that was about a month or 6 weeks ago, or recently, I sat down and went through the Bruce Springsteen catalog from start to finish sequentially, having only ever heard Born in the USA back contemporaneously. I was never a fan of Bruce. I've told many a story about my concert experience. So I went through all the albums, and it was great to participate in a ranking with some people, Greg from the Lipstick panel, Brian from Rock and or Roll, Eric Miller from Pods and Sods, and of course Lee from Tramps Like Us. And I was like the educating Rita on that panel, because I know nothing, I have no context with the music, but I have an opinion. So it was very fun, and part 2 will be out soon, so that was really cool. All right, let's leave that there for this week. So for now, from Alex, his daughter, Ken, Mark, and myself, thanks for watching and listening, and we shall see you next time. Take care. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.